This is an artist trading card, 2.5 by 3.5 inches, the size of a playing card. People make them, trade them, collect them, and there are entire communities built around these tiny pieces of art. If you've never heard of them, this video is going to cover exactly what they are, why they're kind of addictive to make, and what you actually do with them when you're done. But let's start at the beginning. What is an ATC? An ATC, an artist trade card, is a small piece of original art. That size you just saw, everything else, the style, the materials, how messy or how clean, is completely up to you. They started in the 1990s, and the tradition has grown into a whole world of swap groups and online exchanges and communities on Facebook and beyond. And here's the thing that sets them apart from other small art. They are traded and not sold. You make them and you exchange them with other artists. That one rule keeps them personal in a way that a lot of other art formats are not. They stay out of the marketplace entirely, and that can be really appealing to a lot of people. You might also come across artist trade coins. Same tradition, same community, but in a circular format instead of cards. They're incredibly cute, and I'll link some examples below, but today we're staying with the cards. So you don't need to be an experienced artist to make ATCs. The small size actually works in your favor here, and I'll explain why in just a minute. So what's the appeal? Why do people keep coming back to this format? There are a few reasons, and they're all connected. First, you can actually finish one. One of the hardest things about creative work is finishing something. You start a project, it grows, it gets complicated, and somewhere along the way, it can stop being fun. An ATC doesn't do that. You finish one or two in a single setting, and that feeling of being done, actually done, is real, and it matters more than people give it credit for. Another reason why ATCs are so appealing is because of this masterboard method, and this is how I usually make mine, and it changes how the whole format feels. Instead of making one card at a time, you work on a larger piece of paper, building up layers of color, texture, and background, and then you cut it down into card-sized pieces at the end. One creative session gives you 6, 8, 10, even 16 finished cards. And that's a satisfying outcome for a couple of hours of work in a way that a single larger project is not. I'll show you how that looks in a minute, and if you want the full process, I do have a class that walks you through everything. I'll link it below. Another reason why ATCs are appealing is because of the low stress. The small format means less pressure. If one card doesn't work out the way you want it, you've got a bunch of others that are all from the same session. So there's nothing precious about a single one. You can experiment, you can try a technique you're not sure about, you can make a mess, and it's all fine because it's a playing card sized piece of paper. The last reason why I think they are so appealing is because they feel collectible. There's something really human about sets of things. A stack of ATCs that you've made over time becomes a record of where you were creatively and what you were drawn to, what techniques you tried or what you were exploring, what patterns or what colors kept showing up. It's all a kind of documentation that happens almost by accident. So I want to show you this quickly because I think it can change the way you think about this format. This is a masterboard, and it's just a large piece of 12 by 12 paper. I've built some background layers on it, and now I'm ready to cut it down into cards. Once I do have these cut down into cards, then I can start adding additional layers of color, of interesting bits of ephemera or more rubber stamping to kind of shape the cards into how I want them to look. And now I've got a stack of cards from one session. Each one is a little different because that's how the layers turned out, and that's part of what makes them interesting. The full process is what I teach in my class. The link is below. But right now, I want to show you something even simpler, a way to make your first cards today with what you already have. By the way, if you are enjoying this and you are finding it helpful, please do hit the like button so that it can spread to others. It really does help other people find information like this who are curious about things like ATCs too. Okay, so you know those last leftover scraps that are floating around your desk and you don't really know what to do with them? This is how you use them in making something like ATCs. You don't need to go buy anything. You don't need to set up a big workspace. You're just going to use what you have. And what I have is this piece of cardboard. And it's a very ordinary piece. There's nothing special about this. It's just a scrap, essentially. And I have a playing card. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trace this. Okay. I'm going to leave a little bit of a border on the top and bottom just because I know that I'm going to want to kind of go over with a piece of something sometimes. So, and then cut it clean afterwards. But on the other sides, I'm just going to make it as close as possible. Okay. So now I can just go ahead and start collaging, add some layers on here. Now, if I put something down between two cards, I can take my card again and just retrace it, just so that I don't forget where that border is, because I'm going to want to know later, and if I wait too long, then I'm going to get stuck. So I'm just going to keep on pulling scraps out of my little box until I can fill up all the spots on my little cards. Now this is just the first layer, but I've covered all my empty spots, and now I can just go ahead and cut them down. Now I can just leave this on my desk. If I ran out of scraps and I don't have anything left to use, I can just set it aside and come back to it another day after I'm done with another project where I have more scraps, or I can just keep on going. But you don't need to finish it all in one go. Just use what you have at the moment and then just set it aside until you're ready to pick it up again later. Remember what I said earlier about ATCs being something that you can actually complete? This is what that feels like. You sit down, you use up some of your scraps, and then you have a couple of finished pieces of art to show for it. That's really something, and that's a great use of an afternoon. So now you have some cards. What do you do with them? So there are a few good options, and they go in two directions: keeping them and sharing them. For keeping them, the easiest thing is card sleeves in a binder. The same plastic sleeves that people use for baseball cards, for example, or other kinds of trading cards like Pokemon cards. Those all fit for ATCs perfectly. You can flip through a full binder of your work, like a little portfolio, and it's genuinely satisfying to see how many you've made over time. You could also do other things like hole punch them in the corners or along the edges. This is good if you want to have something that you can very easily flip through whenever you want a quick look at something that you've made. Another idea is this kind of ATC box. I will give you the link for the company that makes these. They're located in the UK. They're very inexpensive and they make some really awesome containers. The other thing is that they're super easy to assemble. They come in little parts. It's shipped flat, and then you glue them together yourself. It's super easy, and they're really effective in the sense that you can cover them, you can decoupage them, or paint them, do whatever you want. So if you want to share them, then this is where the trading tradition comes back in. You don't have to be a part of a formal exchange group to share ATCs. You can put one into a card that you're mailing to a friend, or send one to somebody who'd appreciate it. But if you are looking for a exchange group, try searching on Facebook groups. And I don't know of any in particular, but if you do a general search, you will definitely find some. I also do art exchanges in the Vintage and Collage Club, which is my membership. Next month in August, we are working on altered playing cards, which is the same size as ATCs, and it's just where you're showing a little bit of the fact that it is indeed a playing card. So those could be interesting too. If you're interested in exchanging those, I'll put the link in the description below for you to get more information. So the original idea that these are made to be given and not sold is still a really good one. There's something nice about making something small and just putting it out there in the world. The reason why I keep coming back to ATCs isn't really about the cards themselves. It's that they give me a way to create without the pressure of it needing to be something big. Not every piece of art has to be a huge project. Sometimes it's just a card, something that you've made, finished, and either kept or give away. Small art counts. Finishing things matters. And a stack of cards that you've made yourself, that's real evidence that you're somebody who creates. If you want to go deeper on the masterboard method and really develop your ATC practice, I'll link my class in the description below. And if you've made ATCs before, tell me in the comments, do you trade them, keep them, or give them away? I'd be curious to know which way people go. I love this kind of tiny art, and I also love working on Rolodex art cards. If you like working on small art as well, then check out this video right here. I've also included some printables that you can use that add really cool layers onto your cards. So check that out if that's something that's interesting to you.